Mike asked if this was a conversation we should have on air. I didn't think it was, but here we go.
You're not speaking to someone who's never done stand-up before.
And you'd have done better if you'd warmed up.
I wouldn't have. Well, no, but there's two little bits of an
Wouldn't have
hour and a
wouldn't
half
have
show, you
happened.
stupid...
Exactly. It was imperfect. So are you lucky, or are you actually more of a jazz musician than a comedian?
That's all I am, is just a brilliant stand-up. You know, you get like big game players, right? Jess Fishlock,
Yes.
there we go, yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Bang.
She famously didn't train for 18 months before last night's game. So, Elis has been doing gigs as a preview, I guess, warm-up kind of stuff to doing a TV record.
Yeah. It is slightly different to what Mike did, because I'm writing the show, so the show didn't exist until a couple of months ago.
True.
So I've only done I don't know, 9 gigs or something.
Okay.
So I've done an hour 9 times. So I'm still learning it and changing it.
Yeah. Yeah. The flip side of that being Mike doing a tour. How many gigs do you do on that tour? Loads.
Wasn't that many, 20?
When
When was that?
That's loads. I haven't done 20.
It was in spring 23.
Okay, so 23, so a
Oh,
year
okay.
and a half ago, and then you recorded that at the new theatre for television and video purposes.
Well, I was going to do it back in March, but then I couldn't do it. So it was going to be, it was going to be basically just under a year after my last gig. Mm-hmm. Ended up being a year and a half after my last gig.
And as we started recording, Elle was saying how mad that was as a concept.
Yeah.
Mike asked if this was a conversation we should have on air. I didn't think it was, but here we go.
No, it's gone.
I just not doing a warm-up before recording it for telly, and to try and relearn the show and get yourself back into the groove, I think is absolutely insane.
Smashed it out of the park, though.
And you'd have done better if you'd warmed up.
I wouldn't have.
Yes, you would. So you
I
think it was
definitely
perfect?
1,000,000% would not have done.
Note for note, word for word. There's nothing you would change about your performance on that Saturday.
No, there's maybe a couple of things that were slightly out of order.
Well, there you go.
I knew. No. But
My point
they
proved.
both led to something fresh.
Fix
and
it in the
interesting.
edit.
Something led to fresh and interesting. People like Luke, who produced Mammoth, who's seen me do stand-up loads of times. And my agents see me do loads of times. Kelly's seen me do stand-up for 15 years. Also, that's the best I've ever done.
Imagine how good you'd have been with a warm-up.
I don't know, but no, because it's like when you're going to see a favourite band and they're just like the CD. I don't want that. I want it to be different.
Yeah,
If I
you
hadn't
just want to say all the
slightly
words
cocked
in
up
the
in a
right
couple of
order,
places.
because it's for TV, isn't it? It's a document
Mate,
of that show.
Don't worry about me, mate. I ripped the tits out of the audience. Audience were
Good.
great.
That's a positive phrase, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, I
That's fine. Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it. There's no way I'd have done it better, because I was so nervous. I was so trepidatious about doing it, because I hadn't, and especially after the last pod, and you said, mate, I cannot stress enough, you have to do it. I said, I know, but I haven't got any time.
You should have done Motel Nights.
No,
Because he'd already sold out. Motel Nights only holds about 40, so you wouldn't have
What goes
affected
that to me?
sales.
Not good to man nor beast. I might as well do that in front of you. Do what I did, which is in my bar with a microphone, do it to myself.
No, because that's not the same.
It's exactly the
And that's
same.
no, it's not. It's absolutely not.
You're not speaking to someone who's never done stand-up before.
Hello.
Doing it in your bar on your own.
But doing it on an old
microphone is
piano
not the
lid
same.
in the Motel Night is not the same.
It is,
either.
because there's an audience of strangers.
They're not strangers for a start. They're people who listen to this podcast, people who watch Mammoth. People
Yeah,
who
but
want to
you
see
don't
my
know them
stuff.
by name. So you're still having to
He knows
learn
a
the
lot
show
of
and
them by
perform it in front of strangers, which I think is different. Because it's like before you do your first gig, it's never how you expect, no matter how funny you are in front of your mates or your family. Did I tell the Mike Wozniak story when we were discussing this last?
I can't remember.
Because
I'm
when
not
Mike
off the hook, but go on.
when Mike got his first solo show, he was a total unknown, Mike.
Yeah.
A total unknown. He was still working as a doctor, I think.
Yeah.
And I just decided to take a risk and book an hour in Edinburgh to see what happened, see if it would progress his career in any way. And it's hard enough to get, unless you're very established, it's hard enough to get previews. Because no promoter really wants to put someone on that they haven't heard of, who might not draw an audience, to do an hour of untested material. It's not a great sell. So it's always been, the newer the act, the harder it is to get previews, and they're the ones who need it most.
Yeah.
So Mike he'd barely done the show. And he was panicking because he thought, I've got to run it before I do Edinburgh. I mean, I'm a bloody doctor. I've taken a month off work. All my colleagues think I'm insane for doing this, so I need to run it at least once before doing Edinburgh. So because he couldn't get any preview gigs because no one knew who he was, he decided to do it in the living room in front of his family, and he typed on his ass.
Amazing.
Because they kept saying, well, that's not how it happened, Mike.
That's not true.
He was like, I'm a comedian now, believe me.
Mate, my first Edinburgh was completely on the fly.
Yeah.
I was doing a Coventry open mic night, and Johnny Camden, who we know, said, that was really good, mate. Yeah, you did Edinburgh this year? I said, no, I wouldn't mind doing it one year, but I don't know. And he knew John Briley.
Yeah.
And John Briley put me on. I didn't have an hour. I did an hour for that summer. I did it once in the Duke of Clarence pub in the back room, which wasn't the same show I ended up doing.
Yeah.
And I did my first Edinburgh hour for a run.
Yeah.
So so that gig the other day, it's all pros and cons, isn't it? Would it have been, the two little bits that I got sort of back to front, and they're little bits of the hour of 30-minute show.
Yeah.
No.
I opened with all my punchlines.
Well, look, I'm not I've done it for 15 years, so.
Yeah, but I always think if you haven't done it for a while, it's amazing how that sets you back.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
what
it's
you
like
always
match
think.
fitness in.
You're entitled to think that.
No, but I think that's
probably
true. I think that's true of everyone. And you did
Well,
that
you do-
gig.
if
But you
you'd
did
been there
that
on
gig in
Saturday-
Cardiff.
If you'd have seen my last gig on my tour, on my tour last year, and then you'd seen the gig Saturday, you said, Babs, that's a much better show than the last one of your tour.
But you did
And I
that
said,
gig
yes,
in...
Al, you're right. Everyone thinks the same as
But
you.
you did that gig in Cardiff a month ago for my mate Matthew. And you
It was
said...
25 minutes, though, in the theatre.
Yeah, but you said yourself, what's weird is you're thinking about what's coming next. It's not natural and it's not flowing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that is why you should do a warm-up, because it brings that back. It doesn't make you funnier. It doesn't
stretching.
improve the material.
It can be alright for some people, and some people. Well, it is like stretching. Stretching doesn't stop you getting injuries. But every kid does it, right? But it's been proven. And then I show you doctors' things saying stretching's it's just masturbation for physios. You're like, oh yeah, mate, but that's just one person. If I show you 10 people, you go, oh, that's just 10 people, though, mate.
I wasn't arguing with you. Hell was.
I couldn't have had a better gig Saturday than I did.
Apart from getting the stuff in the wrong order.
Well, no, but there's two little bits of an
Wouldn't have happened.
hour and a
Wouldn't
half
have
show, you
happened.
stupid.
Exactly. It was imperfect.
Who wants a perfect... Well, right, when I do a perfect show, there would have been zero banter, zero interaction, because I'm just doing like a fucking CD, right? What happened is twice it went slightly wrong. I clocked that I'd done it slightly wrong. The audience didn't know, but I knew. It went off on a slightly different tangent. I thought, do you know what? This is better this way round. Twice that happened, right?
Okay.
Because you've got to think on your feet.
So are you lucky, or are you actually more of a jazz musician than a comedian?
Ooh,
That's all I am, is just a fucking brilliant stand-up. There's no point dressing up any other way.
what I am is brilliant at my
No, I
art
fucking
form.
am. No one would have had a better gig there than me on Saturday. And that's not sounding like a wanker. But it is sounding like a wanker. But
Well,
I
no,
don't care.
it does. It does. It doesn't mean it's not true, but it does sound like one.
Because what I thought was, right, like you said, Al, I'm not as slick with the as I would have been on the tour, at the end of the tour with the transitions. So I'll slow it all down a bit. I'll have a bit of fun. You know, I'll do what I never do, which is interact a little bit with the audience. I don't do any of that sort of crowd work. I'll make much more of the mannerisms and the sort of little impressions I do. I put a song at the end of it. I did a proper old school song.
Yeah.
You know, and
You
I
were
had a camera.
desperate.
I
You
had
were
6
clutching at
cameras
straws.
there.
You're reaching.
I had
by that
6
point.
cameras.
You'd gone mad.
Yeah,
I
it
loved
sounds
it.
like an insane fever dream.
6 cameras.
So I
Cameras
sang.
everywhere.
So I sang
I was
a song
nervous
'cause
and I was
it was going
unprepared, so I
badly.
sang.
No, I said to
Does it
them,
sound
right,
like comedy, Mike? Yeah, and it wasn't.
I've said you've been brilliant. I said, listen, I'll level with you. I can't put the song in the recording.
I can't remember the end. I'll level with you.
because we can't. I've already done the fucking end.
This is the
I said
de
you've been-
facto end, because
I said
it's
you've been so good,
the last
we got
thing
the
before
TV
the thing I
cameras
can't
here.
show.
I cannot get a song because of the rights issues with it. I said, but you've been great. I'm gonna finish again in a second for the second time for the cameras. If you go nuts, I will do the song at the end, just for us lot in the room. They took the roof off. I did the Wonder Review, bang. Yeah. Can I have a bit of that? What
you owe more PRS than you made during the gig.
What a finish to what a brilliant gig.
Forms.
I had to stop several times in that because people were laughing so much I couldn't get my stuff out. I thought, this is what it's all about, mate. I remember thinking to myself, Elis James doesn't know his arse from his elbow. No, it would have been, those two bits might not have happened, but then they wouldn't have led to somewhere else. So, and I wanted it to be not quite the same as the tour show, and it wasn't the same as the tour show. There was
no, that's not true. You wanted it to be the same as the tour show, but you weren't prepared and booked in a preview, so we couldn't.
So you messed it up.
You had your hand forced.
I inadvertently created a work of genius.
You created more art as a result of mistakes.
Exactly, mate.
That's not necessarily a negative.
Because
it's not necessarily a positive either.
Were you not proud of that show?
Was it what?
Were you not proud of the show as it was?
Yeah, I was very proud of the show as it was.
So why didn't you want to document it as it was properly? Why did you have to go in and improvise?
I wanted it to be better and bigger.
Yeah, but that was a big risk, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, but where's the most fun, mate, when we're taking the big risks?
I don't know, because
just before the parachute opens, that's the most fun.
Yeah, but it is, isn't it? We've talked about this before. This is proper my personality. I was shitting myself off. I've done no previews. I got 6 cameras here.
Yeah, and you realise
we've already signed the contract with the
BBC.
I cannot back out of this. They're going to put this out whatever happens.
You pull the release button, out comes your lunch.
That's not a thing you want to think before the show. They're going to put this out whatever.
Regardless.
I thought that exact sentence before I went on
You
stage.
could have called it regardless. Mike Bubbins regardless.
Would they?
That's the next one sorted.
If it was absolute dog shit, would they have put it out? Do you think?
I don't care. I'm still getting paid.
I don't care.
They would have put it up because there'd be a slot available for it, and they'd say this
you
is
can
what
fix a lot in the edit.
Yeah,
you can fix a lot in the edit,
okay.
As long as the performance looks half decent. You can fix a lot in the edit.
I think and the worry and the stress, which was much more than I normally get before a gig for all sorts of reasons,
partly
just
what
made
El's
it.
saying, I think.
What's that?
I think partly the worry and the stress came from not having performed it for 18 months.
Yeah, completely.
I think that El's other point might have calmed that element down.
Well, you might have done, but I wouldn't have had the adrenaline pumping through me. I wouldn't have been.
Anxiety, I think, is the
word. You got like big game players, right? Jesh Fisher,
Yes.
There we go. Yesterday,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Chips are down. Bang.
She famously didn't train for 18 months before last night's game.